They say age is just a number. But if you're over 40 and lifting like you're still in your 20s, your joints will quickly remind you otherwise. You wake up a little stiffer, your elbows don't bounce back like they used to, and after a few sets of those classic triceps moves everyone recommends, something just doesn't feel right. Here's what most lifters don't realize until it's too late. The triceps aren't just 2/3 of your arm size. They're 2/3 of your risk if you're not careful. It's wild. We spend years chasing bigger arms, trying every program, every bro tip. And then, out of nowhere, we're sidelined by an injury that could have been avoided with one smart decision: choosing better exercises. You've probably already heard of dumbbell skull crushers, triceps dips, diamond push-ups. They've been sold to you as must-do exercises. And sure, they work, but at what cost? Because no one talks about what happens when your tendons aren't as elastic. Your recovery slows down, and the wear and tear of decades starts stacking up behind every rep. A study from the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research found that 67% of elbow injuries in lifters over 40 were caused by the same handful of triceps exercises. The scary part? Most of these are still in your program. And I get it. You don't want to train like an old guy. You want results. You want to fill out your sleeves, push heavy, and still crush workouts like you always have. You just don't want to spend the next 6 weeks in pain because of one wrong set. This video isn't about training less. It's about training smarter. I'm going to walk you through the 5 triceps exercises that are doing more harm than good, especially after 40. And then show you what to do instead. And no, we're not replacing them with weak, rehab-style fluff. We're talking real exercises with real tension and real results, just smarter angles, better mechanics, and fewer injury risks. This is about keeping your gains and your joints, about building arms you're proud of, without sacrificing longevity. And whether you're already feeling those early warning signs, or you just want to make sure you never do, what comes next could completely change how you train triceps from now on. If this is already hitting close to home, hit that subscribe button, because what's coming next might just change the way you train forever. 1. The truth about skull crushers. After 40, you've probably done skull crushers before. Maybe with dumbbells, maybe with a barbell. And if you're like most guys, you felt them. That deep triceps burn. That pump that makes your arms swell like balloons. It feels productive. It feels effective. But here's the harsh truth. Skull crushers are also one of the fastest ways to wreck your elbows after 40. See, when you're younger, your joints can get away with a lot. The wear and tear doesn't show up right away. But once you hit 40, things change. That cartilage cushion gets thinner, the tendons get tighter, and the very same movement that used to help you build muscle now becomes the perfect storm for pain. The dumbbell skull crusher in particular puts your elbow in an extremely vulnerable position. You're lowering weight behind your head, elbows bent, under tension. And all of that force gets funneled straight into a tiny joint that's already under stress just from being over 40. Research from the University of Pittsburgh found that this movement can create up to 3.7 times more pressure on your elbow compared to other triceps exercises. That's not a small margin. That's your body screaming for an alternative. And let's be honest, how often have you tried to go heavier on skull crushers just to chase that pump or impress someone nearby? You push the weight, your form breaks down, your elbows flare out, and suddenly, you're not training triceps anymore. You're grinding down your connective tissue. Even if you don't feel pain right away, the damage is cumulative. Micro-injuries build, tendons get inflamed, and before you know it, that tight elbow turns into weeks off the gym. Or worse, months in rehab. Here's the thing. Just because an exercise works doesn't mean it's right for you. Especially not at this stage of your life. You need smarter angles, smarter resistance, and movements that build, not break. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. The next exercise might surprise you even more. 2. Why pullovers might be sabotaging your joints. Here's one that catches almost everyone off guard. The pullover. Most people think it's a chest or back exercise, and that's fair. It feels like it. It looks like it. But EMG studies tell a different story. In fact, the triceps activation during a pullover is even higher than the chest or the lats. That makes it a hidden triceps exercise and a dangerous one, especially after 40. Now, let's break this down. The pullover stretches your arms behind your head with a loaded weight, usually a dumbbell, putting your shoulder capsule in a deep, vulnerable position. That's already a red flag for anyone, but when you add in the fact that the long head of the triceps crosses the shoulder joint, now you've got double the tension on two major structures that naturally get stiffer and weaker with age. And here's the scary part. The pain doesn't usually show up right away. It creeps in, slowly, 1 rep at a time, 1 week at a time, until you've got a nagging ache in your shoulder or a twinge in your elbow, and you're not even sure where it started. That's the trap with pullovers. They're a silent risk. For people over 40, the extended range of motion pulls on the rotator cuff, especially the supraspinatus and infraspinatus, way past a safe limit. Add in a tight capsule, worn cartilage, or old shoulder injuries, and you're basically walking a tightrope with every set. Even worse, the pullover tends to trick you into poor form. To get more range, people arch their backs, flare their ribs, and dump pressure into the lumbar spine. Another area that doesn't bounce back like it used to. It's the classic case of an exercise that's not inherently evil, but becomes risky fast when your body isn't built for that kind of stress anymore. And after 40, it's just not worth it. There are better ways to hit the triceps that don't gamble with your shoulder health. But hang on, the next one might be even more popular and even more dangerous. 3. The hidden dangers of triceps. Dips, triceps dips. Just saying the name makes some lifters puff their chest out. It's one of those testosterone exercises, right? No equipment, just raw strength, full body weight. You see guys grinding out reps on parallel bars, feeling like beasts. And sure, dips do hit the triceps hard. But at what cost? Especially after 40. Here's what most people don't realize. Dips don't just challenge your triceps, they brutalize your shoulders, especially if your form's even slightly off. Especially if you've already got some wear and tear in those joints. And if you're over 40, you probably do. See, when you dip down with your torso slightly forward, trying to isolate the triceps, you're forcing your shoulders into deep internal rotation under load. That's the exact kind of movement that sets off impingements, aggravates old injuries, and grinds down the rotator cuff. Add fatigue into the mix and things get worse. Toward the end of your sets, your control drops. You dip a little lower than you should. Your elbows flare. Your scapulae lose stability. Now you're in a danger zone, 1 rep away from a sharp pain that doesn't go away. It's not just the shoulders either. Dips also hammer the elbow, especially at the insertion of the distal triceps tendon, the one that's already prone to tendinitis in lifters over 40. And the problem here isn't just the movement, it's how your body responds to it after decades of stress, micro tears, and imperfect recovery. Another sneaky danger? The social pressure. Dips have become a badge in the gym. You're expected to do them. people push through pain just to prove they can. But the truth is, strength isn't about ignoring your body. It's about listening to it. You don't have to ditch dips forever, but after 40, they're just too unpredictable to be a core part of your program. There's a better way to train the same muscle, without putting your joints in a vice grip. But we're not done yet. The next one is probably in every no-equipment workout you've seen online, and it might be ruining your wrists and shoulders. 4. Why diamond push-ups aren't worth the pain. Diamond push-ups look great on paper. No equipment, easy to add anywhere, and supposedly perfect for the triceps. Just bring your hands close together, make that triangle under your chest, and press. Simple, right? Not if you're over 40. See, this move creates a biomechanical nightmare for older joints, especially the wrists and shoulders. The first red flag? The wrist position. Bringing your hands close together forces an extreme internal rotation, putting major pressure on the carpal tunnel. That might not mean much in your 20s, but over 40, your connective tissues don't have the same elasticity. Every rep digs in deeper, and it doesn't stop at the wrists. The shoulder angle in diamond push-ups is also problematic. With your hands directly under your chest and elbows flaring out slightly, you're placing your shoulder joint in an unstable, high-stress position. Just like dips, but without the benefit of equipment to guide your form. Researchers at the University of Michigan found that this configuration increases pressure on the shoulder joint by over 60% compared to a traditional push-up. That's massive, especially if you've had past issues like impingement, rotator cuff strains, or even mild inflammation. Another overlooked problem? Form breakdown. Diamond push-ups are tough, harder than they look, and when fatigue hits, most people start cheating. Hips go up, lower back arches, head drops. Now the load is spread out across weaker areas, especially your spine. That's the opposite of targeted triceps training. Worst of all, the elbow stress here is brutal. The close grip angle places your elbows in a compressed, awkward path, one that your tendons weren't built to handle repeatedly, especially at full extension. It's no wonder so many lifters over 40 complain about sore elbows after bodyweight routines. Look, there's nothing wrong with wanting to train at home, but diamond push-ups just aren't a smart move for long-term joint health. The risks outweigh the benefits by a mile. And there's a much better, safer option that still gives you that no-nonsense triceps hit. But we've got one more risky move to cover, and it's one you've probably never even questioned. 5. The deceptive risk behind the Scott triceps extension. You've probably seen it tucked in the corner of the gym. That preacher curl bench, usually used for biceps. But some people flip the script and use it for triceps extensions, thinking they've found a hidden gem. It feels like a good isolation move. It looks safe. But for anyone over 40, the Scott triceps extension might be one of the riskiest moves you're not even aware of. Here's the issue. This exercise demands perfect stabilization, something that naturally becomes harder with age. And without that stability, you're not targeting your triceps. You're shifting the load to all the muscles that should be helping you stay upright, not pushing weight. When you lean into that preacher bench and try to extend from that awkward shoulder angle, a few things happen. First, your shoulder is forced into internal rotation combined with horizontal adduction. Basically, you're pinning your upper arm across your chest and asking it to move under load. That's a terrible combo for anyone with shoulder wear and tear, which, let's face it, most of us over 40 have. The distal triceps tendon, the one near the elbow, also takes a beating here. Because of the angle, it's under constant tension at a mechanically weak position. You're basically pulling against your joint, not with it. Over time, that means inflammation, pain, and yes, Another excuse to skip arm day. But maybe the worst part? It's just not effective. With all the energy your body spends trying to stay stable, your brain can't lock in on the triceps. That mind-muscle connection is scattered. And when that happens, even a technically correct rep becomes subpar. It's a perfect example of an exercise that looks cool, feels different, and ends up being all risk and very little reward for the over 40 crowd. The good news? There are better tools for the job. And now that we've broken down all the major mistakes, it's time to flip the script. Smarter substitutes. Build triceps without breaking your joints. All right? Deep breath. By now, you've probably had that moment of realization. That gut-level, uncomfortable truth. Yeah, I've been doing at least one of those. And look, it's not your fault. Most of these risky exercises have been recommended for decades. They're in every magazine, every beginner program, and even a lot of so-called expert routines. But here's the shift. Once you're over 40, your training needs to do more than just build muscle. It needs to protect what you've built. You're not here to max out for a month and burn out. You're here for longevity, strength that lasts, arms that not only look good, but feel solid every single day. That means one thing: smarter choices. You don't need to train lighter. You don't need to go easy. But you do need to switch out the movements that punish your joints for ones that stimulate muscle growth without all the hidden damage. And no, we're not talking about rehab exercises or soft, safe fluff. These substitutions still hit hard. They just do it with smarter angles, better mechanics, and more control. If you've ever thought, I want to keep training like this when I'm 50, 60, 70, this is where it starts. Let's rebuild your triceps training from the inside out, starting now. Exercise 1. Cable overhead triceps. Extension, your joint-friendly power move. You know what we're replacing here: the dumbbell skull crusher. That classic move with a brutal downside. But this is your upgrade. The cable overhead triceps extension gives you the same, if not better, activation without punishing your elbows. The secret is in the angle. Dumbbells pull straight down thanks to gravity, forcing your elbows into an awkward, vulnerable hinge. Cables, on the other hand, pull forward. That shift in resistance direction means less torque on your joints and more control over the entire range of motion. In fact, a study from the University of Cincinnati showed this variation reduces elbow stress by up to 65%. That's not just a minor tweak. That's a full joint-saving upgrade. And here's the kicker. It still hits the long head of the triceps hard, the exact muscle group you were targeting with skull crushers. Execution is key here. Stand with your back to the cable machine, elbows tucked tight to your head, and extend. But don't let your elbows drift out. That's the #1 form killer. Keep them locked in like they're glued in place. Let the rope move, not your arms. Another win? Continuous tension. Unlike dumbbells, which lose tension at the top or bottom, cables keep the pressure on from start to finish. That means better muscle fiber recruitment, more time under tension, and a cleaner, safer pump. And let's be real, nothing feels smoother than this when it's done right. You get the stretch, the squeeze, and zero joint pain. It's how you build triceps that last, not just for this month, but for the next decade. But remember, we've only replaced one risk. The next fix tackles a move that's been misunderstood for years. Exercise 2. Rope pushdowns. The pullover killer. Time to erase the pullover from your program and plug in something that actually makes sense for your body. The rope pushdown isn't just a safer alternative. It's arguably one of the best triceps exercises out there. Period. Why? because it checks every box. Low joint stress, high activation, adjustable load, clean mechanics, and it does something else the pullover never could. It lets you target the triceps directly without forcing your shoulders or spine into risky positions. See, the rope adds a layer of controlled instability that actually helps you. Instead of fighting the awkward path of a pullover, you're now using natural movement, extending your arms and spreading the rope at the bottom to squeeze every inch of your triceps, especially the lateral and long heads. Plus, it trains the muscle under a condition called active insufficiency, meaning your triceps are forced to contract from both stretched and shortened positions, leading to maximum fiber recruitment. Translation: more growth, less wear and tear. The setup is simple. Stand facing the cable machine, grab both ends of the rope, keep your elbows glued to your sides, and extend down. At the bottom, spread the rope outward for that extra squeeze. That's the difference between a meh rep and a textbook contraction. And here's the mistake most people make: letting their elbows drift forward. It feels easier, but it kills the isolation. Imagine your elbows are superglued to your ribs. They shouldn't move. Ever. Don't underestimate this exercise just because it looks simple. Rope pushdowns done right will light up your triceps, with zero of the shoulder stress that comes from trying to force a pullover into your routine. But we've still got more joints to protect, and the next move solves one of the biggest offenders in any over 40 program. Exercise 3. Seated triceps machine. Your safer dip alternative. Let's be honest, nothing feels as raw and powerful as banging out a set of dips. But when you're over 40, powerful can quickly turn into painful. DEET. That's where the seated triceps machine steps in. Same motion, same target, but way smarter for your joints. Think of it like this. Dips are like sprinting on concrete with no shoes. The movement works, but the impact adds up fast. The seated triceps machine is like sprinting on a track with perfect cushioning. You get all the effort, with none of the collateral damage. Here's why it works. The machine replicates the pressing motion of a dip, but removes all the dangerous variables. Your back is supported, the movement is guided, and most importantly, your shoulder and elbow angles stay in a safe, consistent range. No more leaning too far forward, no more overextending, no more guessing when to stop the descent. The machine forces proper biomechanics, which means your triceps take the load, not your joints. To get it right, adjust the seat so that your elbows line up with the machine's axis. Keep your grip firm, chest up, and push the handles down in a controlled motion. No jerking, no bouncing. Control the weight both on the way down and the way back up. And here's something most guys don't realize. This machine actually allows for higher volumes safely. You can push a little harder, go for those extra reps, and still walk away pain-free. That's a game changer if you've been avoiding triceps work because of joint discomfort. Bottom line, this machine isn't just a replacement for dips. It's an upgrade, one that gives you consistent growth without risking your shoulders or elbows. Exactly what smart training should be. Next up, we fix a bodyweight move that looks innocent, but has been sabotaging lifters' joints for years. Exercise 4. Close grip bench press. The diamond push-up replacement that actually delivers. Diamond push-ups might look hardcore, but they're a joint disaster waiting to happen, especially after 40. If you want a movement that still brings the heat to your triceps without torching your wrists and shoulders, the close grip bench press is your go-to. This isn't just a modified bench press. Done right, it becomes one of the most effective compound lifts for building thick, horseshoe-shaped triceps. especially the distal portion near the elbow that most exercises miss. That's not a guess. It's backed by EMG studies and years of anecdotal evidence. And here's what makes it different. It gives you all the benefits of a pressing movement while letting you fine-tune the grip to match your body mechanics. Unlike diamond push-ups, which force your wrists into extreme internal rotation, the close grip bench keeps your hands in a neutral, stable position that protects your joints. But don't fall into the trap of going too close. That's a rookie mistake. Your hands should be just inside shoulder width, close enough to emphasize the triceps, but not so tight that your elbows and wrists scream in protest. Form is everything here. Keep your elbows tucked, lower the bar slowly to the mid-chest, and push back up with control, focusing on elbow extension, not chest dominance. Think of it like trying to tear the bar apart with your hands as you press. That tension helps you keep the triceps fully engaged. Another benefit? You can load this exercise over time. That progressive overload builds strength and size, something bodyweight push-ups can't deliver consistently once you're past the beginner stage. If diamond push-ups were giving you nagging wrist or shoulder pain, this lift is your clean break. Stronger triceps, safer joints, and way more room to grow. But we've got one final fix to cover, and this one might surprise you with just how effective it is. Exercise 5. Cable triceps kickbacks. The smart upgrade for preacher-style isolation. Let's wrap this up with one of the most underrated triceps moves, the cable triceps kickback. If you've been trying to isolate the triceps with preacher-style extensions on the Scott bench, this is your safer, smarter alternative. See, the problem with the Scott bench is all about angles and instability. It feels like isolation, but your body ends up compensating so much that the triceps barely get the full benefit. Plus, your shoulders locked in a risky position that just doesn't work well with age. Cable kickbacks fix all of that. They give you clean isolation, but with a biomechanical advantage. With the cable pulling diagonally, you can fully extend your arm without losing tension. Something dumbbells can't do, because gravity only pulls down, not backward. Set it upright. Position the pulley low. Grab the handle with a neutral grip. Hinge at the hips, and keep your upper arm glued to your side. From there, extend your arm back until it's fully straight. Pause, then return slow and controlled. No swinging, no momentum, just pure tension. What makes this exercise shine is its consistency. From start to finish, your triceps stay under stress. No dead zones, no wasted reps. And unlike the Scott variation, you're not forcing your joints into awkward alignment or relying on unstable equipment to hold your posture together. It also gives you that mind-muscle connection you've been chasing. You can feel the contraction instantly. And that squeeze at full extension? That's where the magic happens. That's the kind of stimulus that builds definition and detail without overloading your tendons. If you've ever walked away from a preacher extension with more frustration than pump, this is your fix. Cable kickbacks deliver the feel, the safety, and the results, without leaving your elbows or shoulders begging for ice afterward. So now, you've got the full picture. But let's bring it all home. Here's the bottom line. Training after 40 isn't about playing it safe. It's about playing it smart. You don't need to slow down. You don't need to stop chasing results. But you do need to stop letting outdated exercises tear your joints apart one rep at a time. Today, you saw exactly which 5 triceps movements are doing more harm than good. And more importantly, you now have 5 powerful substitutes that hit harder, feel better, and actually respect the body you've built over the years. It's not about ego anymore. It's about evolution. You've got the knowledge. You've got the tools. Now, it's time to show up, train smart, and build arms that don't just look strong. They stay strong for the long haul. What's the one thing you're changing in your training after this? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear what hit home for you. If this video gave you at least one aha moment, drop a like, hit subscribe, and let's keep building this together. And if you're serious about protecting your results, don't miss the next video where I break down the 7 biggest triceps training mistakes that waste your effort. It's linked right here on the screen.